Good morning, everybody. Michael Savage here. Beautiful music. There are such talented people in the world. God bless the creators. They have a bit of God in them, don't they? The musicians who produce music such as that. But I want to talk about Plaster Saints today. You'll notice the title, We Are All Hypocrites. Maybe you're not going to like hearing this. Maybe you want to hear something sanctimonious. If you do, this is the wrong place for you to be today. Because, okay, let's start with the Ten Commandments. Now, the reason, as I see it, in analyzing this my whole life, God, man, earth, destiny, the way I see it is God had to put out these 10 commandments through Moses because nobody was doing those things, or they were doing the things God didn't want them to do. In other words, if everyone was really great, there wouldn't have been a need for the 10 commandments. But because everyone was just like you and I and screwing up and doing all the bad things that are condemned, God, thunder, lightning, boom, and he gave the 10 commandments to Moses saying, you better get those people under control, man, because it's not working. They're worse than animals. You get what I'm saying? Now, why do you think the 10 commandments were given to man on Mount Sinai by God to Moses? I'll repeat it again until you get it. Look at the 10 commandments. What does it say? Let me get out the ruler. Should I read them to you? No other God before me. Okay, that means every one of you is violating the first commandment. If you worship anyone but God, you're violating that rule, number one. God was a jealous God, narcissistic, wanted people to only worship him. So he said, break all the idols, smash them into smithereens, and you shall have no other gods before me. 2, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. That means no paintings, no sculptings, nothing, man, nothing. You can't make anything. 3, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That means everyone was doing whatever they wanted 7 days a week. They wanted you in the temple 1 day a week. 5, honor thy father and thy mother, because no one liked their mother and their father, basically, in the old days. They didn't like them. So you have to honor them. Why would he tell them honor them? Notice everyone honored their mother and the father. He wouldn't tell them you have to honor your mother and the father. 6, thou shalt not kill. The word kill and murder are 2 different words in the ancient Hebrew. I'll let you figure out why that is so. Not commit adultery, but then modifications. It means with another married woman. It means if she's not a married woman, go ahead, have a good time. I mean, you got to check this out. Next, thou shalt not steal. That's pretty clear, unless you're Joe Biden. 8, 9, not bear false witness. That applies to everyone except the Biden people and the Biden administration. They were so sanctimonious while they're ripping off the nation and killing people all around the world. Millions of people died because of these people for a few dollars. And 10, thou shalt not covet. Our whole nation, all of the world that we live in is built upon covetousness. What do you think the ads are for? It's to make you covet. Well, we're finished for the day, folks. That's my whole sermon for the day. As you can see, I'm in a very cynical mood, and I hope that you weren't offended, or if you were, I can't help it. But, you know, the one thing that I've tried to avoid all my life is not being a plaster saint, because sanctimoniousness applies to both sides of the political aisle. Do I have to tell you how many fake conservatives there are out there who pretend that they're morally superior to everyone else, particularly the Democrats, when they're just the same, if not worse? Or vice versa, all of the phony liberals, the MSNBC crowd, you're a racist, 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 you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, you're a homo. What are they doing behind the closed doors? They hate you more than you hate them. Plaster saints. Sanctimoniousness, making a hypocritical show of being morally superior to other people. Bad, bad, bad. Pretending to be more ethical and pious than everyone else. Oh, more ethical and pious than everyone else. When actually they're no better than anyone around them. That's basically what people hate. We're all hypocrites. Nobody is perfect. That's my God talks for the day. So why am I doing this today? Why am I doing this today? I don't know. I feel like I'm obligated to do a God talk on Sunday. I made a commitment to the one true God that I would do a God talk on Sundays. But I didn't really want to do one today. Tired. I'm exhausted from it all. I'm burning it out from all of it. I'll tell you the truth. I think I'm coming to the end of the road. I mean, maybe not my life. Who knows? That's up to God. But I am so sick and tired of politics. I'm so sick and tired of talking. I feel like taking a vow of silence. I won't do it. There's a great Bedouin saying that unless you can improve upon the desert winds, the sound of the desert winds, be silent. It's a nice one. So we all walk around trying to do the best we can, trying not to hurt ourselves or hurt others, trying to be kind where we can. And that's the best we could do. There's no more you can do. Now, there are others who'll go the extra mile, and they do. They'll take a bullet for a friend in combat. They're different than you and I. They'll fly a mission in an airplane in a very dangerous situation and risk their lives more than I would do, more than most of us would do. They do it for what reason? For God and country. They're different. They're different than me. I'm not like that. I'm not a fighter pilot. I'm just a mortal man walking around with 7 other billion people trying to figure it all out. Sometimes we hurt people without even knowing we're hurting them. Sometimes we help people without even knowing we're helping them, by the way, on the other side of the coin. Spoke to a rabbi last night. I texted him, I said, Rabbi, I don't want to do the God talk on Sunday. I have nothing to say. What should I say? So he said to me, just read a Psalm of David. He said, that brings great things down from heaven. I mean, do I really believe that? I don't know. How do I know that that's true? I don't live in that realm where I really know. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I fucking don't know. Do you? Pardon me. Do you know? Do you know if there's really a God? Do you know if there's really a hell? Do you know if there's really a heaven? We think we know. We want to believe, but do we really know this? Can we know this? I reach out to God. I hear God speaking to me sometimes, and I think, what am I, a psycho? Is there really a God speaking to me, or I'm just projecting in my own imagination? This is the problem of the thinking man. This is the problem of the iconoclast. This is the problem of the thinking person. This is the problem of a human being with a rational mind. So the rabbi said to me, just read a Psalm of David. I said, well, I don't know which Psalm of David. I'm going to do it because he believes in this more than I do. He said, page 29 of the Siddur, a Psalm of David. I'll read it to you. Right? Nobody knows it's called faith, Michael. I got it. I understand that. So he said, read it. He said, it brings down great things from heaven. You have no idea how you're going to touch people just by reading a Psalm of David. So I'm going to do that, then go back to the 13th gate that I'm talking about right now. The tetragrammaton, the 13th gate, the spiritual realm that none of us can really know. Except maybe some few people have crossed over and come back. A psalm, a song of dedication of the house of by David. This is King David. See, I'll tell you about King David in a minute. He was a wild man. He was a total sensualist. Guy would have been like a crazy hippie. in these days. I exalt you, Lord, for you have uplifted me and did not allow my enemies to rejoice over me, Lord. My God, I cried out to you, and you healed me, Lord. You brought up my soul from Sheol. You have kept me alive, and I should not descend to the pit. Sing to the Lord, you his pious ones, and praise his holy name. For his wrath endures but for a moment. When he is conciliated, there is long life. When one retires at night weeping, joy will come in the morning. In my security, I thought I shall never falter. Lord, by your favor, you have made my mountain stand stronger. When you concealed your countenance, I was alarmed. I called to you, O Lord, and I made supplication to the Lord. What profit is there in my death, in my going down to the grave? Can dust praise you? Can it proclaim your truth? Lord, hear and be gracious to me, Lord. Be a help to me. You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have loosened the cords of my sackcloth and girded me with joy. Therefore, my soul shall sing to you and not be silent. Lord, my God, I will praise you forever. The Lord is king. The Lord was king. The Lord will be king forever and ever. Now, there's an interesting line in that psalm, written allegedly by King David. He was very clever. He was bargaining with God. He was bargaining. And what he said was, listen to this. What profit is there in my death, in my going down to the grave, said David. Can dust praise you? Can it proclaim your truth? So he's saying to God, keep me alive so I can continue to praise you. You get that? You understand what I'm saying to you? That's a prayer, a psalm. There are mystical cultures, mystical elements of all religions. All religions have mystical elements, whether it be the Jewish or the Christian, the Zoroastrian, the Hindu, the Muslim, the practitioner of nature. There's another element. There's another gate. Most of us don't even want to go through that gate. Most of us, if we had the option, wouldn't go through the 13th gate. We would absolutely avoid it. If you had the chance to go through that gate, would you go through that gate? You might not. You might be afraid. You might want to turn on the sports or something like that. Go smoke a joint. Go have a scotch, whatever, in order to forget these thoughts. That's why we have all of these other things on earth. Man is very smart. How do you think he distilled whiskey? You know, first distilled alcohol, it was the Arabs. I don't know if you know that. They gave us the zero. They gave us coffee. They gave us alcohol. They distilled alcohol. Then they banned it in their own people. So most of us don't want to cross over that 13th gate. We don't want to see the other side. We don't want to go there. It's too risky. Have any of you ever felt that you were very close to going through another portal in your consciousness and stopped it and said, it's enough, I don't want to see anymore? Have you? I'm just asking questions today. Your trick is not to become a plaster saint, especially for those of us in the media. You hear? Those of us in the media. Most of us are plaster saints. Both sides of the aisle. Full of it, you know what I'm saying. Pretending to be better than everybody else. The other side is no good. The other side is no good. The other side is no good. It's true my side is better. But, I can prove it. It's really simple how to prove that my side, my political views are better than the left. I'll tell you in simple English. If God were alive, would he be a Democrat or Republican? If God were alive, he'd be a Republican right now. You think he would want transvestites or trannies or trans people screwing up our children's minds? Do you think he would want men making believe they're women beating up women in sports? He wouldn't want any of that. I'll make it simple for you. See, that's crazy. I don't want a big guy pretending to be a girl and beating up a girl in a game. No, that's not right. It's real simple. So it's not that hard to figure out. I can go into all the politics now. I don't want to go there. We do this all the time. So you say King David, you say, oh, well, he was a great man. Or if you even know who he was, Who was the real man who ruled Israel, who united all the tribes? If you actually study it, you find out that he was I wouldn't say a flawed man. The slaying of the giant Goliath, his swift challenge to the weak rule of Saul, the first Jewish king, his tragic relationship with Saul's son Jonathan. David, we hear David, we say David, oh, King David, man, must have been something special. So I'm reading this book I found in my library, King David, by Jonathan Kirsch. It was written quite a while ago, 2000. And I don't know why I picked it up out of nowhere. It's been, I look at the covers sometimes and I don't know why I'll reach for something. And you read right from the beginning, he is the original alpha male, the kind of man whose virile ambition always drives him to the head of the pack. He is the first superstar, a figure so compelling that the Bible may have originated as his royal biography. Authentic sex symbol, ruggedly handsome fellow who inspires passion in both men and women. That's an interesting statement. A passion expressed sometimes as hero worship and sometimes as carnal longing. One biblical scholar wrote him as the quintessential winner. So you say, well, okay, David, who was this guy? Earthiness, ribald, confused by his taste for sex and violence, David's adulterous love affair with Bathsheba, his passionate declaration of love for Jonathan, or the rape of David's daughter Tamar by his son Amnon, or the rebellion of his son Absalom, who very nearly succeeded in driving him from the throne. Oh, interesting stuff. I'm not going to read the whole thing. The sins and scandals disclosed in the Bible. What is the Bible? The Bible is a collection of verses, poems, essays, sayings over hundreds of years. And then, when you realize that what went on then is still going on today, we're not so safe anymore, are we, with images that we have? So who is this man? The Bible depicts David as a man acting out of righteous necessity. God has anointed him to be king, but had done nothing at all to put a crown on his head. Instead, David has been forced into flight by King Saul, and he's responsible for the sustenance of his men and their camp followers, including women and children, etc. So David becomes a sort of a Robin Hood. And what does he do? He has to take what he needs by force of arms. He becomes brutal and becomes criminal to save his people. That blows away a lot of the sanctimonious imagery, doesn't it? It was interesting as I read this little thing on David that he was a distrustful man. I have to read this to you. David, who had sown the seeds of more than one tribal blood feud during his years as a bandit and a mercenary. Oh, that's interesting. He was a bandit and a mercenary. Learned a practical lesson from the pagan kings whom he had served. Thus, he chose to surround himself with a personal bodyguard that consisted entirely of foreigners. The Cherethites and the Pelethites, whose duty was to protect David from his own people, are understood to have been sea peoples who, like the Philistines, came to the land of Israel from Crete or elsewhere in the Aegean. They were like the Palestinians, in other words. Some scholars propose that the Pelethites were in fact Philistines, and the Bible itself confirms that David's foreign mercenaries included a contingent of Gittites, that is, men from the Philistine city-state of Gath, the hometown of Goliath. So he didn't trust any of his own people. It would be like Netanyahu hiring someone from Hamas to be his bodyguard. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what we're reading here. It's meshuggah, crazy. The more you look into things, the crazier it becomes sometimes. Now we find out this icon was a bandit and a mercenary, and a sexually pretty promiscuous guy. The ancients, as it turns out, were far less concerned about incest than the modern readers of the Bible. Contrary to what we have been taught by Sigmund Freud, the taboo against incest was not primal and universal, and the biblical world regarded incest with far less horror than we might suppose by reading the parade of sexual atrocities in the book of Leviticus. Whoa, God, that's a hell of a sentence. Throughout the ancient Near East and down through history, sex and marriage among close relations have been not merely tolerated but actually celebrated, and it has been argued the cosmopolitan court of King David was both familiar and comfortable with such practices. Nice. Okay. So here we are. Brings us right back to where I started. Where did I start? What's the title of today's Sermon on the Mount? We're all hypocrites. Some of us are plaster saints. I try not to be a plaster saint my whole life in the media. I've tried my best to be as real as I could. I've always distrusted people on the conservative side, distrusted them more than the liberal. Liberals, I knew who they were. I grew up with them. They were pretty straightforward in their beliefs. They never hid that's those sides of themselves. But the fake Republicans who pretend to be more ethical and pious than everyone else have always turned me off. Many of them are actually no better than those around them. Actually, they're much worse. Many of the people in the media who pretend to be saints of virtue and better than everyone else are the worst scumbags I ever met on the planet. That's why I don't go for it. So I'm never at any of these events. You noticed, like, I'm not knocking anyone. I mean, I watched the event, the CPAC. I liked the speeches. Most of these people were great speakers. Have you noticed I've never been to a CPAC event? 26 years in the radio business, and now since then, television show, whatever. I've never been at CPAC. I don't go to those events. First of all, I'm not invited. That's to begin with. Second of all, they can't afford me. Thirdly, I wouldn't go if they did invite me and they could afford me because I hate traveling. But I'm not at these events. I don't like being around people who are all like buzzing with each other about how great they are and how bad the other guy is. So it's very difficult, my friends, to be an independent in this country. It's a path I've tried to follow in my entire career in the media. It almost sounds like I'm ending it right now. I'm listening to my own voice. What the hell is he getting at? Thinking, where's he going with this? I don't know what those marks are on my hand. The mark of Cain. I don't know. No, they're just some vessels broke. That's all. Taking too much vitamin E with fish oils. I know what it is. I don't use blood thinners. In fact, when I had an incident years ago, they put me on blood thinners, which I threw away. After 2 days, I said, I'm not taking them. They weaken me. They're no good. I threw the Eloquil in the garbage. And since I know a lot about vitamins, I started to take a lot of vitamin E and a lot of fish oils at the same time. And believe me, I can control what happens in my body with that stuff. See this? I took too much fish oil with the vitamin E. So I got a little bleed. I'm just talking. It's not like leprosy. Maybe it is leper sores. I don't know. Sometimes you wake up with weird things on your body. I had this. I woke up with this. Also, this is not that. Like something bit me, but it wasn't a bite. Went online. I love modern medicine because I could take my iPhone, show it to my dermatologist who I hadn't seen in a year, and like by FaceTime, he could tell me, don't worry about it, it'll go away. So I put some cream on it that I have some special herbal cream and hope it goes away. But I'll tell you, God controls a lot of what happens with our body. I've seen this in my life over and over again. You want to talk about health and disease, that when the spirit leaves us, our spirit leaves us, I don't mean like we die. I mean, we lose our spirit. That's when stuff happens. All the things that are around us and in us take over. When our spirit falters, when we get weak inside, spiritually weak, pardon me, that's when the microbes gain control over this petri dish called our body. It's a good statement. I like that one. It's a very good one. That's why a strong spirit is so important to a strong body. So you say, well, okay, that's good. That's where the whole spiritual stuff comes from. It's supposed to strengthen us. That's why I never liked formal religion. I would go into formal religious places and I'd always come out feeling weaker, not stronger. If you go into a religious like meeting place, church, synagogue, and you hear bullshit, I mean, like weak, wimpy garbage, you walk out and it's not doing anything for you in here. You can't wait to leave. Most of you can't wait to go home and watch a ball game or whatever, run around the block, drive your car as fast as you can on a hidden road. I don't know. Because you're not getting what you want out of it. Everyone's become wimped out. You want to hear fire and brimstone in a church. You want to feel the floors shake in a house of worship. I've mentioned this before. It's why I never could relate to formal religion, because all of it was like watered down, weak, beautiful, beautiful edifices, gorgeous edifices, and nothing going on inside. Who the hell needs it? So my quest took me all the way into the deep islands of the South Seas in the late 60s, early 70s, early into the 80s. And I'm not going to go into the whole folk healing thing and how I got into ethnobotany, why I collected medicinal plants. I was always looking for something. I was always trying to find God's hand wherever I went. You could find God's hand if you look carefully, more specifically in places like that than I could in my own country. Yes, you could find God's hand here in a maternity ward. You could find God's hand here in a cancer ward. You could find God's hand here in a social place where the poor are given food or a cup of coffee or whatever. You can find God's hand here. You can find it in a veterinary clinic when a poor dog is suffering and a beautiful veterinarian saves that person, that dog, sorry, same thing to me. So, yeah, you could find it, but it's not everywhere. You go into those primitive villages in the late 60s, and you go into some of the more remote villages, and you spend enough time drinking kava kava late at night, and then you talk to the folk healers, and then you find out that many of them are living in another dimension. And although the knowledge of the plants were handed down from generation to generation, mainly through the women, so I work with a lot of women, they were the healers. A lot of it was word of mouth, mother to daughter, daughter to daughter to daughter, mother to daughter, and they learned how to pass on their healing plants. And how did they originally learn which plants could cure what? I mean, I assembled an entire pharmacopoeia of Fiji Islands. I wrote a book about it. I don't even have the book handy. I'm not here to sell you a book. I've been fascinated by plant medicine for a long time. My first voyage into the world of healing medicines was 1972. I spent night after night, after night after night writing this book. Am I a Native American healer? No, but I studied all the healing and I made a compendium. I remember writing this book. I love this book. 1972. Maybe I should read some of it myself. Heart and circulatory problems. Green hellebore. Okay. I'll look into that one. Here's one. What's this? This is an interesting one. I haven't looked in this book in many years. Wahoo. Wahoo. The native wahoo shrub was used in Indian medicine for a variety of purposes. Uterine problems, eyewash. Soon after its introduction to the early settlers, the bark became a popular diuretic drug. It was not until a report was published in 1912 which showed that this species effects a digitalis-like action on the heart that wahoo became a popular heart medicine in domestic practice. Wahoo is found in moist open woods. It was a great book. Marijuana, the infamous weed, was not used by the American Indians, but it was at one time an official drug in the United States pharmacopoeia and was regularly used wherever a sedative, analgesic, or narcotic was required. For the potheads amongst you, I hate marijuana. I smoked it for many years when I was young, and it did nothing good for me, only bad. If you have a one-string guitar for a mind, it's very good. Now, there are brilliant people who use it. I'm not saying that. But I have found basically that if you have a very highly developed consciousness, Drugs of any kind, particularly marijuana, is a disaster for you. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm talking about God's hand, the healing hand through the plants, what I was looking for, why I was searching, why I went on the road of my own, why I always marched to a different drummer. What drove me there? It had to be God. Do I know? Did God come down in my bedroom last night and say, go on the radio tomorrow? I mean, go on YouTube and on X and tell him that I came into your bedroom last night and now I'm divulging everything to you. And the reason you did not become a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer or a businessman, the reason you did not become that, the reason you traveled far and wide, always searching, always looking, always digging, always trying to find something beyond, pulling and pulling and pulling one layer off the other. The reason, Michael, is because, boom. No, didn't happen. So this is my Sunday program. I hope that you have enjoyed it thus far because I have nothing more to say. See, this is the thing about a discursive monologue of this type. I know when it's over. It's over. It's over. I'm nothing more to say. I'm empty. I thank you for listening. You know, I love hourglasses. See that hourglass over there in the corner? I'm saying, who invented the hourglass? Like the other day, I'm a very curious man. You know, one of the things that keeps me going is my curiosity. I'm an older guy, but I have an extreme curiosity about things. And sometimes I'll get up in the middle of the night and go online to find out where'd that come from? Who invented that? So I was very curious, who was the genius who invented the hourglass? I said, what country? Where was it? Okay, Babylonian or Egyptians. The Babylonians or Egyptians. That's interesting unto itself. And then the designation of how did they find exactly what size grain or crystal to put inside and how big did the aperture have to be and how long? So you can make an hourglass 1 hour, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. It's amazing what you can do with an hourglass. And then I read that in the late 1800s or so, the hourglass was used by priests to time their sermons because I guess they were going on too long. So in the last Sunday, goodbye, I throw your money in the kitty. I'll see you next Sunday. I don't know, but that's how they did it. So, folks, I'm glad you could be with me today. As you know, you can sense in my voice, I'm reluctant to leave you, and I am. If I could sing, I would sing a song right now. Good night, but it's time to go. It's actually good morning, but it's time to go. It's a whole long day's journey into night ahead of me. Every day to me is a long day's journey into night. One of the great titles, Long Day's Journey into Night, written by Eugene O'Neill. Great writers have always suffered, always suffering every minute of their life. So you take Eugene O'Neill, one of the great playwrights, Long Day's Journey into Night. He wound up using smack, probably morphine in those days. I don't think there was heroin then. 3,6-diacetyl morphine was not developed at that time. 3,6-diacetyl morphine was developed by chemists to treat morphine addiction. I don't know if you know, there's an interesting story. 3,6-diacetyl morphine was a modification of the morphine in order to get people off morphine. They were morphine addicts because at the time, morphine was used by everybody. Dilaudid was a commonly sold medicine in America. They were giving it to babies to calm them down at night. They created a whole generation of drug addicts, the same way doctors have created drug addicts today with Ritalin and Adderall, giving them to your children. So they addicted an entire generation to morphine. There was such a morphine addiction in America. I think this was before World War I. It was widely available. Everyone was using it. People were addicted to morphine, the mother of all medicines, by the way. So the chemists came up with a modification of the morphine molecule. They modified some points on the molecular structure of morphine. The 3,6-diacetyl morphine became a new drug to cure morphine addiction called heroin. People say, great, it's a cure for morphine addiction. I'll take some of that heroin. Turns out, you know what heroin is. It's far more addictive than morphine. Then you speed it all the way up now into modern times, and you have people trying to get off horse or heroin, and what were they giving them in the clinics? Oh yeah, come to the clinic. Come to the clinic. We'll give it to you through a window. What were they giving them? Anyone know? It turns out that the drug that was developed to get people off heroin was far more addictive than heroin. Right. Well, they were even selling it in the street, for God's sakes. Right. Methadone. Thank you. Methadone. I forgot what it was. I mean, I knew heroin was created to cure morphine. The morphine addiction became more addictive, and then, of course, methadone was created to cure heroin addiction. It became more addictive, and the methadone clinics became a great scam. So, my friends, it has been a long day's journey into night. Even though it's the morning, I feel like it's the night already. I've lost track of time. I got a long day ahead of me. The only thing I got to look forward to today is at 5 o'clock Pacific, I get to watch my TV show on Newsmax TV tonight. It was finished during the week. It's a really good one. I forget what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's a pretty good one. Each one is a little different than the others. The first one was pretty good with Tucker Carlson. This is the 5th show I've done. And then the one with my son was really great because we had old footage from the early events that we did, the Compassionate Conservative events. They were beautiful. The Cadillac on stage. I love that. I don't know where time went. How does time move like that? How do 25 years go like that? How? Then you're starting with the projection. Forget about that one. So I'm starting radio in 94. 30. I'm not going to be here in 30. Where am I going to be? I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be doing these. Where am I going to be? You ever think of where you're going to be? Where's the next world? Certainly not in this body. God gave me a great body. I'm very lucky. Are you uncomfortable with your body image? You know, most children in America grow up with terrible body images because they try to project their body images onto the ideal that they see, and they can't be that. And they become obsessive about it. And they're ashamed. And then they try to change it with exercise. And nothing really works. The body image never works. Then if you're uncomfortable with your body the way it is, and you try to change it, you're still going to be uncomfortable. At some point, you have to take a deep breath and say, this is it. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean let yourself become a slob. You know, take care of yourself the best you can, but don't obsess over it. You're going to age. Your body is going to change no matter what you do. I don't care what kind of gym rat you are. That body is going to change. The muscles will become flaccid. I don't care what book you read. I don't care what vitamins or herbs you take. That body is going to change. Those muscles will change. Learn to live with it. Do the best you can. Moderate. Moderation in all things, my friend, is the only answer there is. Moderate exercise, moderation in eating, moderation in drinking if you want to drink at all. And truly, the moderation is the only solution because you're going to take that slow slope down that mountain anyway, no matter how you try. Nobody's getting off that hill alive. Drinking green tea. It's not bad. I don't particularly like the taste. So I don't have anything more to say to you right now. I want to talk with you more. I want to read more about King David. I want to read more about herbal medicine. I want to read more of the Bible, but I'm not going to do it. I have indulged myself and you sufficient to say sayonara. And if you're around tonight, turn on Newsmax TV and tell me what you think of the show tomorrow on my, well, I don't think you can. You can only reach me through a certain source, and I don't even know how it is. It's a subscription thing. I don't remember what it is. I think I'll leave you with one saying that I have on my desk. I keep it all the time. No man detests war more than the soldier, General Douglas MacArthur. That's for those of you who want Zelensky to keep killing Ukrainians and Russians. Have a nice day, you idiots, you. I don't know one soldier who wants that war to go on. That's why Trump's trying to end the killing, the murdering. It's amazing. He's a peacemaker who's called a warmonger. We had a warmonger, Joe Biden, who was called a peacemaker. We had perverts who were called healthy. We had healthy people who called perverts. We had patriots called criminals. We had criminals called patriots. And now Trump's straightening the whole world out, and he's being vilified by the illegitimate. Illegitimate non carborundum, my friends. That's it. Remember, it is a long day's journey into night, boys and girls. Don't get into any trouble today. Don't get into any trouble today. Now I want to do a film review all of a sudden before I go. I saw the worst Netflix thing in my life with Robert De Niro. I hate him to begin with. I love his acting. I hate the man's politics, but I'm willing to bypass. You know, it's like some people said Hitler was a good painter. He wasn't, but he was a fairly good painter. So people say he wasn't a bad painter. It's like Robert De Niro. Not a bad actor, actually an excellent actor. A miserable, horrible human being, jealous. Am I still on? Because I was going to end it. If it's still running. I almost hit end. I hit end and it says okay. I didn't hit okay yet. Am I still live or not? Or am I talking into the wind here?